Welcome to Momentum Marketing with Stonehill Media, the podcast where we break down the strategies that fuel business growth and lasting impact. I'm your host, Janeil Lentz, and today I'm joined by a special guest, Dr. Jeffrey Danielson, chiropractor, entrepreneur, and mentor. Dr. Jeff has built a thriving practice, trained the next generation of healthcare professionals, and launched ventures focused on paying it forward. In this episode, we'll dive into his journey, marketing strategies behind his success, and how he's built momentum in both business and life. Dr. Jeff, welcome.
Hi, Janeil. Good to see you again.
It is fantastic to see you. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with everyone. I would love it if you could briefly introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm a weirdo. How's that sound? Or at least that's what my wife says. So I am a serial entrepreneur. I love business. I love helping people. I love the hospitality industry, which is a huge industry. It's everything in the healthcare industry, which is, I'm deeply involved in the healthcare industry, which is hospitality, by the way. But I also own restaurants. And so over the years, I'm 55 years old. I've been in practice since 1997. And I have owned, I think, 28 LLCs at this point. So lots of different businesses in different industries as well. And I love paying it forward to the next generation of entrepreneurs. So I love that you're doing something so great to help young people. I mean, there's so much that I can learn from the younger generation, but there's so much wisdom that I can share so that they can take those lessons and apply them with their knowledge that I don't have, and they can be even more successful than I've ever been. So I love what you're doing. Thanks, Janeil, for having me.
Thank you. When we look at businesses, and obviously you say you've had 27 LLCs, that's fantastic. There's obviously a lot of growth, a lot of development that's happened. But could you reflect on what some of your biggest business challenges are right now?
Boy, I think you're going to be hard pressed to interview somebody that isn't going to say that people are one of their biggest challenges. They are your biggest blessing and they are your biggest challenge. And when I say people, I'm talking about the people that come alongside you in your entrepreneurship to help grow your business. So anybody that might be thinking about starting a business, you should be thinking a couple steps beyond that as well, because it's not just you. You only have a finite number of hours that you can put into a business. If you want to be more successful and have a bigger impact on your community, on your profession, then you can't go it alone. You've got to have other people. And that includes people, employees working with you, sometimes partners, but primarily employees. But then you also have to have other support people around you, such as an IT person, such as a marketing person. There's other businesses, a payroll company. Believe me, you don't want to do your own payroll. So you've got to put the people around you that make your time focused on the things that you can do best. So the biggest challenge is finding those people and keeping those people and training those people.
Fantastic. Thinking back to when you started out and you were establishing growth goals, what would you say to a business owner that's they're starting out? What would you say would help them develop those growth goals?
Yeah. Well, I'm not your typical person where, I wish I could tell you that I had specific, like I had a poster on my wall that had listed all my goals and this is what I was going to do. In fact, it was never a goal of mine to coach chiropractors. I'm a chiropractor currently. I never wanted to own more than one chiropractors. I've owned 11. And now I coach, and I never wanted to coach chiropractors, but that's what I'm doing now too. So, I never necessarily had goals per se, other than goals that reflected my passion and reflected my core values. And that was to serve people. And so my goal was to serve my community and serve my patients and serve people and do it for as many people as humanly possible. That was kind of my main goal. And once I started just focusing on that, then of course I had to deal with the growth and the changes and the challenges in the insurance industry and all the stuff that comes with it. But if you, if I were to, set things up to be more goal oriented, I would put it, on something big. Like they have these big giant calendars. You can put these big giant sticky notes on your wall, and it doesn't even matter if your staff sees it or what. I mean, a big giant sticky note and out something that you're going to see on a regular basis. I don't care if you put it on your bathroom mirror. Something that you're going to see, and it's going to be a reminder of where you're headed and what you're doing. So other than that, believe me, there are other people to talk to that are going to be much better at answering that question regarding, oh, well, there's an app for that, and you should have this app that tells you and it gives you a ding every time. Yeah, that's beyond me. I just kind of focused on my purpose and went after it. I'm very self-driven that way. So it kind of depends on the type of person you are. If you're not self-driven, if you need help, then you need a coach. Even a driver like me, I need a coach. At one point, I had 4 coaches that were coaching me on different things, all at one time. If you need help, then you've got to, if you need an app, if you need a program, if you need something, then you have to go that direction.
Absolutely. A challenging question for you. So you bring in these young chiropractors and you support them as they're getting that career going. What is a piece of advice that you would give them in that first year?
Um, I think the biggest piece for any entrepreneur when they're starting a business is that they have to be all in, philosophically, mentally, all in for what you're doing. So if you are if you're going to be in a business of like portable biffs, portable outside toilets, okay, if that's you're going to be your business, you got to just love it. You got to just be passionate about it. You got to be all in for it. And that means being willing to talk about it anywhere and everywhere you go. People need to know that that's who you are. You're the Biff guy, and you got to be proud of it. No matter what your profession is, you can't kind of just hide back and and that's the challenge with some chiropractors is they don't want to be pushy. They don't want to be salesy. They don't want to be whatever. But I mean, I wear sometimes. Okay, I've got a T-shirt on today that has my clinic name on it. Okay, that's my main clinic. But we also have these name tags, and I teach my young doctors wear your name tag all day. Because when you go to the gas station, when you go to the grocery store, when you're checking out at Walgreens, when you're going anywhere, people are going to see it and they're going to read it. And they do. I watch them do it all the time. They look and then of course, as soon as they see that it's chiropractor, then they go, oh, do you know what you can do for this kink in my neck? You know, and so they talk to you about it. But if I didn't have my shirt on, if I didn't have my name tag, they wouldn't know anything about who I am or what I do. And I will talk to absolutely anybody at any time. To my wife's dismay, I will talk chiropractic with anyone, everywhere, including the best story I have ever is when I got pulled into the back of an airplane on my way to Cancun by the flight attendants, and I did 4 adjustments in the back of the airplane with the flight attendants because I was wearing a chiropractic shirt, and my wife hated me for that. But it made the first day kind of rough, as we were getting on our vacation. But you just have to be willing to talk about your business anywhere and everywhere you go at all times.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things I find when people come to me, they feel, if I build it, they will come. And while there's a small element of that, and there's things that we can do to leverage that, if you build it, they will come. Ultimately, you are the best promoter for yourself and for your business, and really that driver for that success. Because if you don't believe in it and you don't believe in what you're doing, how is someone else going to believe in it?
100%. 100%. Yeah, I mean, I don't care what you're talking about. I mean, chiropractors and medical doctors, all kinds of doctors are afraid of being salesy. They don't want to be seen as a salesman. And I'm sure that's in other industries too, like life insurance salesmen and car salesmen. They don't want to be the used car salesman. if you love what you do, it's just who you are, and in my office, I'm selling health. It's the best possible product on the planet. The only one maybe better is salvation. If you're a pastor, you can be salesy from the pulpit because you're selling eternal life, right? But I'm a chiropractor. I'm selling health, and no bones about it. I'm helping people live better. And so I have no problem talking about that. And yes, when you talk about it, you are basically in sales because you're trying to get people to make a decision that is good for them. Okay. Now, if you're selling something that you don't believe in, that's not good for them, well, then you're in the wrong business, right? So then you should double think what you're doing. But if you believe in what you're doing, that it's helping people, then doggone it, tell people about what you do.
That's a fantastic piece of advice. So outside of that, being your own evangelist for yourself and your business, is there anything that you could recommend, again, back to those young startups? Is there anything that you could recommend to them for helping them to acquire new customers?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm gonna keep beating this drum. You got to put yourself in positions where you can actually do your evangelizing, okay, where you can talk to human beings. So one of the best things I did when I first started practice was I joined a networking group. Networking is a thing. I mean, I just watched a TikTok yesterday with a young man on campus, and he was sharing the best things you should be doing when you're in college. And his number one thing, networking. Get involved with clubs on campus, get involved with sports, get involved with everything you possibly can, because the more people you know, those are some of the people that are going to help you in your career. And it's true. You're going to be able to lean on connections that you make throughout your lifetime. And the time when you're making the most connections is in college. So you should be making those connections. But when you're in business, reaching out to, there's a group called BNI, Business Networking International. I was a member of that group for 18 years. I had breakfast with about 43 individuals every Tuesday morning for 18 years. Think about that. And we helped build each other's business because we referred business to each other. And so that was an excellent resource. But other things, anywhere I can be put in front of people. So we sponsor teams. So I go and I speak to local teams of kids and adults and co-ed teams and all kinds of different teams, trap shooting teams, bass fishing teams. I put myself in front of other people all the time so that I can share my message. Other things you can do is have events. So we've done food trucks at our clinics where we have food trucks and people from the surrounding community come into the food trucks, and then we're out there at the food trucks handing out certificates for free healthcare and things like that. So anything that puts you where you can speak to people, even knocking on doors and getting your business cards out there. Join the Chamber of Commerce. I did this. I joined the Chamber of Commerce. And within 2 weeks, I became an ambassador for the Chamber of Commerce. I didn't know anybody, but they made me an ambassador because I had energy and I wanted to help. And so I became an ambassador, and I wore a little tag that it said I was ambassador of the Chamber of Commerce. And my job was to welcome all new members to the Chamber of Commerce. I just become a member 2 weeks before. Okay. But I was going to all the new members, and each month there was about 15 new members, and I would welcome them, give them a catalog of all the members of the Chamber of Commerce, and I would answer a bunch of questions, and then I would let them know, hey, I'm your resource. I'm a chiropractor down the street. I'm a resource for any information regarding the chapter. Please give me a call. And I handed my personal business card to those people. And I still am have strong business ties with some of those people that I met, 30 years ago.
It's interesting because there's a nugget of like a little kernel in everything that you said, and one of those is a being of service. And it's interesting that has driven you. You talked about it when you're talking about your business and your passion. It's about serving people. Every example that you've given has been about service, and I love that.
Yeah.
I just think that's a little piece through there. So
there's a wonderful man. He started as a pastor of a church, but then he became a business leader. His name is John Maxwell. Most everybody knows that name because if you go into a bookstore and you ask for the books by John Maxwell, you'll find them in the self-help section or the business section. And most of his books revolve around leadership. And a quote that I listened to of his, it was probably 30 years ago, was if you want to be successful, help others become successful. And that's a servant's heart. That's the heart of a person that is putting other people in front of themselves. And when you serve others and when you help other people become successful, guess what happens? You become successful.
It's just a great lesson. It's a great lesson for business. It's a great lesson for leadership. It's a great lesson in life. It's one of those things. I love how, you've had all these, you're speaking to all of these successes that you've had. Is there something that sticks out in your mind that didn't work as well as you expected it to?
Um, yeah. Um, I think there's things that haven't been as successful as I wanted because things were outside my control. Okay, so now you're going to get a peek behind the curtain here. I'm a little bit of a control freak because I want things to be perfect. I want to do the best possible job for people and for my staff, my community, etc. And when there's things outside my control, um, a good example might be this, Facebook marketing. I mean, some of the things that you're involved with, having a good company that really desires to help other companies become successful and really wants to help them have the right spotlight on the things that you want to have your spotlight on, that you're a servant leader, that you are um, uh, have a certain passion in your profession, etc. Your story brand, if you will. Um, and if you are connected with a company that you're just another number, it can fall on its face. And I've been stuck with a few of those that just haven't companies that I've dealt with that just didn't provide what they said they were going to provide. And then you end up kind of wasting a lot of money.
Huh.
So
Exactly.
surrounding yourself with the right humans, not just the right product, but the right humans with that product.
And it really can be with any business of any size. If you get with the right person, like if you're looking at a marketing agency and you can get into those bigger ones where you have a really great project manager who's really there for your success, that can make all the difference in the world. I know with us, we do little happy dances when we see a low cost per acquisition and we're really developing ROI in those campaigns. We do a little happy dance because
Yeah.
the success of our clients is also our success. So
Love that.
yeah.
I love that. I get more juice out of helping another business. Like when I know I've given a good referral to somebody and connected two other people, I didn't get anything for it, but I connected two people that are really going to help each other. I get a ton out of that, just fulfillment for me. And so I love that you guys do the happy dance because that speaks to that same thing. You should be happy when the people around you are successful. That should make you just vibrate. And so you want to surround yourself with folks like that. So I love that your team does that.
Well, thank you. And one of the things that we like to, we're talking about growth, we're talking about the success of campaigns, but just in general, just growth across your businesses. If you could solve one problem, like that big nasty problem that just keeps coming back around, what is that problem? And how would you solve that problem?
Oh boy, it's a loaded question, and I'm not sure if I have the answer for it. Well, let me give you an example of solving a problem. So I'm in the restaurant business. I currently own 7 restaurants. We're looking at opening an 8th one this coming summer. Um, the hardest thing to do, and again back to I think the first question you asked, the hardest thing is finding the right people around you. Because if you own a restaurant, guess what? You're not going to cook the food, do the marketing for the company, serve the food. I mean, you're not going to do all that. You're going to have employees, right? So finding people. Where do I find people? For chiropractors, it's finding a great front desk person, or finding a massage therapist, or finding another chiropractor to join your practice. Those are really hard things. It's hard to do those interviews. It's hard to find the right work ethic in people. And sometimes, to be honest with you, you don't know what you have until you get to see them work in your business. And so, and sometimes, I mean, you can do everything possible to vet people on the front end. but ultimately you're not going to know what you have until they're there working with you. However, one of the things that we've done, and I've done this in the chiropractic industry, but we're also doing this in the restaurant industry with our 7 restaurants, and they're all in the Minneapolis, St. Paul, Twin Cities area. And so what we're doing is we're developing people from the bottom all the way up. So, I mean, we have people that started in our restaurants as a hostess, and then they moved into a position of a server, and then they moved into a position of an assistant manager, and then maybe a bar manager, and then maybe a general manager. And we've even had somebody that has moved all the way through that whole process, and now they're an owner of one of our other restaurants. And so what we do with our 7 restaurants is when we are looking to open a new one, which we are in the Twin Cities. So we're looking, where do you think we're looking? We're looking for the people that we have developed within our 7 other restaurants, and we're looking to give somebody an opportunity to advance within our group and not lose them, but give them a better opportunity to join this other restaurant. And so we're able to develop talent and move talent from restaurant to restaurant when there's opportunities for people to advance themselves in the profession of hospitality in the restaurant industry.
And that's a fantastic mindset, because when you're investing in them and their success, they are going to take that and they're going to invest in the success of the business, right? You're really building that loyalty by extending it first.
Yeah. And what's funny too is that so many people, when they first join our restaurant in whatever position they're in, they're not joining it because they're looking for a career. I mean, very few people, maybe 10%, are looking for a career in the restaurant industry. They're looking for some extra money. They're looking for a summer job. They're looking for a job in between jobs. But when they join our company and our organization, which is Trellis Hospitality, they are actually tapping into a company that develops people. And we want human beings to become better versions of themselves. And all of a sudden they realize that they can have a fulfilling career in the restaurant and hospitality industry. And so we open the eyes of people to see the possibilities of what they can do and how they can advance within our restaurant companies.
And that's a common perception too, is when, you're a hostess at a restaurant and it's helping you get through college, that you think that it's just, I just do this job for this short period of time. But again, that developing and that mentorship in there changes that mindset within them, that this is a company that I can grow with and that I can work for. And you probably have, when you put out an ad for getting a new hostess in one of the restaurants, I bet you have so many people that are referred from people within the company.
Yeah. One of my greatest stories, I do a podcast actually called The Feast for restaurants. And one of the interviews I did was with a gentleman. His name is Jose, and he's been working with one of our restaurants, which is in an Embassy Suites. And he's been in that location for over 20 years. And he grew up as the son of a farmer in central Mexico. And now, as of today, he's an owner in 5 of our restaurants. He is a restaurateur because he has committed himself to this industry. And so, yes, he still works in the hotel restaurant, the one where he started. He still works there. He's got his role. But what's a kind of a fun secret is that people don't know that the person that's serving them a beverage is the owner of 5 restaurants. They have no idea. And he just loves it. He loves that. And I love a success story like that.
That's fantastic. And I love how you're supporting your staff and building them up. So to flip that, what would be the type of support that you would look for?
In what way? Like,
in support in your business endeavors.
okay. Well, number one, I think I mentioned earlier about coaching and mentoring. I was one of those guys when I started, I was very driven. So I was like, and I knew what to do. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just go. And I was my own driver. I took my own initiative. But doggone it, if I didn't realize about 5, 6 years into practice, when I started looking into coaching and actually having a coach that can give me ideas on things that I could do or things that I shouldn't do, mistakes that I can avoid. Mentoring and coaching, if you do not have a mentor or coach, and sometimes you have to pay them, pay those coaches. It's worth it. It's an insurance policy for success. These are people that have done it before. These are people that know what you should do and can give you options and talk you through it and be a sounding board. And man, you can avoid so many mistakes that will cost you literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so when I first started practice, I didn't have a coach for 5-6 years, and it wasn't, and I was very successful. But once I got coaching, it was it was so much more. It was exponential, the growth that I had after I had somebody mentoring me. So that's probably one of the biggest things, is surround yourself with a coaching team, but also other people that can do things that you can't do. So like your industry, I have no clue how to do the stuff that you guys do. I have no clue. I don't want to know. I don't want to learn it. I'm too old at this point. I don't want to learn any of that stuff. I just want somebody who knows what they're doing, because as soon as I learn it, the game is going to change and they'll change the rules, right? And you guys are passionate about it and passionate about learning the changes. I don't want to deal with all the changes. So I want a company to come alongside me and deal with all the changes, and I want to count on them to help me become successful. So finding those partners to do business life with you, I think is super important.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Even last week, I was in an entrepreneurial roundtable, and we were talking about just some of the current climate changes in terms of the Canadian economy. And just even hearing other people's perspective was really eye opening for me. And I know myself, I work with coaches all the time from different things, from where it's physicality or we're looking at business growth. And they've really helped me when I kind of hit those hurdles. And you sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and you need someone to point that out so that you can just take that next step. And sometimes it's uncomfortable, and we know that growth is often uncomfortable.
Well, and I'm going to throw this out there too. So there was another group that I tapped into that was excellent. It was an excellent resource for me. It was called TAB, and it stood for the Alternative Board. And it was like having a board. So if you think about this, big companies have a board, right? That serves the ownership group. And you go to the board with your issues to make decisions and whatnot. This is like having a board. So I paid a monthly fee to have access to this board. And then once a month, we would get together, this group, and there was about 8 of us. And we would sit in a round table, and for about 6 hours, we would solve each other's problems. It was awesome. It was like having a board without having to go through the trouble of trying to form the board. And I will say this. So when you think about mentors, or you think about people that are going to speak into your life, that are going to help you, you don't want to find somebody that's exactly like you. In fact, I will tell you that on that board, there was a gentleman that by far for me, he was the best person to speak into my decisions, my business decisions, and he couldn't have been more different than me. I mean, from a personal basis, I mean, I'm a Christian man. He is the farthest thing from it. I'm conservative. He's the farthest thing from it. I mean, we are completely different people, and we have such an utmost respect for each other and and I feel like if we flip this around, I bet you he would name me as probably the person that influenced him the best as well. In fact, we still have a relationship. I'm a chiropractor. He's my patient, and I love that man, even though we're so different from each other. And I think that speaks volumes too.
Yeah, there's something to be said about getting those outside perspectives, and that comes again from building that network, like you've mentioned, where, go out and talk to people and build these relationships, because those could be that board for you as life continues, and they can help, even if we take it away from a business perspective, we look at a personal perspective. You never know when you need, that to leverage that support group that you've built over the years.
And I want to say this as well, because I think a lot of young entrepreneurs, and I think that's a lot of the audience that listens to this podcast is young people. I think when we're young, we feel like we're bothering people that are super successful by asking for help and asking for advice. And I want to tell you that the older I get, the more I want to help those people. The more time I will actually make for somebody who, with humility and genuine concern for their profession and who they are. Somebody that comes to me genuinely and authentically and says, "Hey, can we have coffee sometime? And I've got some questions. I want to pick your brain. Would you be willing to do that?" Somebody asked me that, I will absolutely do that. So if you're sitting at home and you're thinking to yourself, "What can I do so I don't make some bad mistakes in life, in my business world or business life?" Talk to people that have been there and ask them to have a cup of coffee sometime. And, it's a numbers game. You might have to ask 3 people in order to get one yes, but you're not going to have to ask many, because there's a willingness amongst successful people to help the next generation.
And I found that too. And really, I think as you start out, you see it as a zero sum. And it's really not. Like, it's one pie, and they have a big piece, and they're not going to be willing to share it. But it's really, it's infinite. And a lot of people that I've worked with, the more successful people have that servant attitude, and they want to help and see other people succeed. And I think that might be the hidden key of success out there, is just that willingness to do something for someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I believe that. And, I follow a few people on social media, the ones that I enjoy. And I'm always shocked by this. There's a gentleman that goes around and interviews people that, and I don't know how he finds these people, but he asks them, they've got a fancy car or whatever. How did you make your money? What was the most money that you ever spent in your life? And they know who he is now because he's become very, very popular. Um, but people are willing to talk to him that are super successful because they know that he's getting the message out to millions of people on these things. And some of the most successful people are the most willing to help.
Yes, fantastic. Well, we're almost like I'm through my questions. We're pretty much out of time. Is there one thing that you would like to leave the audience with? Piece of inspiration?
There's about 1,000 things, but I think be willing to grind. Understand that life is not easy. Actually, I had a conversation with a patient today, and she's a young entrepreneur, and she actually works in the restaurant industry as well. And she just had a little baby, and she said, I thought this was interesting. I made a comment because I adjust chiropractically. I adjust mom and then I adjust the baby as well. I have a pediatric practice, and I said, "Oh, she is so good. You have such a good baby." And I said, "And what's awesome is that's going to last all the way through high school. She's going to be perfect for you." And she said, "I've had so many people say she's such a good baby. And you know what they follow it with? But just wait till she's in high school. She's going to be a nightmare." Right? And I said, "Well, I'm glad I'm different because that's the glass half full." Um, know that life is going to be hard. Yeah, your baby, your child is going to be difficult, but that baby is going to be the blessing of your life. And it's going to be wonderful, but it's also going to be challenging. In business, know that there's going to be hard times. Okay, it's biblical. It's in the Bible. Things are going to be tough. You're gonna be faced with challenges. How you deal with those challenges and keeping the right attitude through those challenges is how you survive. And my faith drives me, and so it's all about God carrying me through those tough times. And so you got to be willing to grind. You got to be willing to get up and do the stuff that nobody else is willing to do. Because there's a lot of people wanting to be entrepreneurs and successful business people. There's just very few people willing to do the things that are required to have a successful business.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, Dr. Jeff. Everyone, I'm going to put links in the description so that you can check out his podcast, look into his different businesses, get in touch with him. Again, Dr. Jeff, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.